I'm Tyler Crayston alongside Jerry Hemmings, and we're here to talk about your motor development course offered through physical education at Brandon University. Coach, thanks a lot for coming on and spending some time with us.
Yeah, thanks, Tyler. I've enjoyed making this program with you.
Let's talk about a history lesson. How long have you been involved in this program for?
Well, I started teaching the motor development course back in 2006. I was kind of away there for a couple of years, overseas coaching, and I came back and this was one of the courses that I had to kind of learn, and that was kind of a, it was a neat learning experience.
It's quite the change going from coaching the Bobcats, winning national championships, now to this.
Yeah, it sure was. But when you look at it, university coaching, you're recruiting high-performance players. You're really refining their skills. And then you look on the other side of the coin at the motor development, we really focus a lot on the fundamental movement phase, and that's working with children basically 3, 4, 5, 6 years old to teach them the skills to become proficient in stability, locomotor, and manipulative. And that's where it really begins, is really getting those kids started, building that foundation at a very young age.
In this program, Coach, it's like a launching pad, so to speak, in climbing a mountain slowly but surely.
Yeah, that's a good point. What we try to do is get them to the base camp at the foot of the hill there, and then once they get that proficiency, now they're ready to transition into what we call the specialized movement phase, where they're going to start getting things in early years, phys ed, the beginning of low organizational games, and then also the beginning of sports.
And there's 4 major phases of development. Can you break those down for us?
Yeah, the 4 movement phases that we look at is one is the reflective phase, and that's basically involuntary movement. And that's basically the reflexes, and such as the rooting reflex, where the mom kind of brushes the baby on the side and the baby turns, and then there may be the sucking reflex, and now basically, and that's for nourishment. And and then we have kind of after that, we have the rudimentary phase, and that's where now the brain is developing, and now the reflexes start giving away, and now the baby is allowed to start bringing about this movement on his or her own. And then we move into the phase where we focus our university students working on, and that's the fundamental movement phase. And then we have after that, as I mentioned a little bit earlier there, around 6, 7 years old, they start transitioning into the specialized movement phase.
And within the fundamental movement phase, there are 3 stages there as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, we call those stages, and the first one we have is the initial stage. Okay. And that's just the beginning. That's where it's probably the child's first opportunities at these stability, locomotor, manipulative skills. And it's going to be a wide range of variants there, from lots of errors. The balance is not going to be very good, and we're going to see some of that later when we go into the video.
And there are 3 functional areas as well.
Yeah, and the 3 function areas that we focus on is one, the foundation, and that's the stability, where we work with children in terms of static and dynamic balance. And then second is the locomotor, which is basically starts with young babies in terms of creeping and crawling, and around 12 and a half months is the average age that they start walking, although the range is about 9 months to 17 months, but the average age is about 12 and a half months. And we say it's age, these skills are age related, but they're not age dependent, because some kids are going to get there sooner, some kids are going to get there later, and that's just kind of a natural process.
And then pre-tests are done, and there's 7 stations. Correct?
Yeah, we do. What we do, we bring in our university pre-kindergarten children, and we work with them. And normally we have about 10 children that we work with, and we set up with our university students, and we set up 7 stations, which we have 2 in the stability area, we have 3 in the locomotor, and then we have some manipulative skills such as striking, throwing, and catching. And after about 5 minutes, we rotate, and so after about 50 minutes, all the children have been able to cycle through that and get some learning opportunities.
And the pre-test basically just determine where the kids are at, type thing?
Yeah, the pre-test is determined for us to basically identify, are they at the initial stage, are they at the elementary, or are they at the proficiency stage? So we have, through the textbook I use, we have material that pretty well identifies from previous research where these children are. And in some stations we're able to basically look at the product, and that is how far did they jump, how many seconds were they able to maintain their balance. So, and then we work with them, and then after that, you know, we have the post-test.
And a big part of this program is pie, but not lemon, cherry, or pumpkin.
Yeah, chocolate pie, whatever. Yeah, we tell
your favorite might be.
Yeah, we tell our university students we want to give them a lot of pie, and basically that's an acronym, and P stands for practice opportunities, and then we have I that stands for instruction, and then E is encouragement, because we all know that children at that young age, they need lots of encouragement.
And the post-test, exactly the same as the pre-test?
Yeah, identical. The reason being, we want to see, did they advance any? So we've got the time, we got the characteristics of their performance, and then after we work with them 6 or 7 weeks, we want to come back and give them identical same test, and that way we can determine, did they advance to another stage? Were they able to do the time longer? So it's critical that we do that, because as I tell my university students, the pre-test and post-test has got to be identical. We wouldn't want to test a kid how well he or she could hit a ball from 10 feet, and now we get in the post-test and now we change it to 20 feet. You know, that doesn't really give us any validity that we're looking for in terms of how well they did on their teaching in terms of their lesson plans and then working with the children.
Okay, we've collected a bunch of highlights, a bunch of video, and we're going to break it all down right now for you. So let's take a look at our first piece of highlights there, Coach.
Yeah, what we got there, this is our hopping and skipping station, and kind of hopping precedes skipping, because a skip is a step and hop. And we're trying to identify, you know, if they have a deficiency on one foot, which usually is their non-dominant leg, then we need to work on that before we can ever get them to start becoming able to skip. And now you can see this is Marcus, a real cute kid that we had with us, and we've actually got one of our students kind of modeling kind of what a skip looks like. It's a step and a hop.
But this skipping is more complex though, right?
It's a complex skill, because it's actually a bilateral skill, because it involves, you know, the step and the hop. Now we got 2 kids, and notice at this age what's really cute, the girls are more advanced than the boys in terms of skipping. And then you can see here's a kid now. This is one of our young students there, and he's starting to get more proficient. You can see he had the nice coordinated movement there with the step and the hop. And now this is a little activity where he's got to pick up a bean bag and skip back and drop it into the bucket. So every day our university students come up with different lesson plans, different activities that's going to enhance. As you can see, this young girl here actually had really good rhythm. You know, she's, you know, in probably a proficient stage. And what's so neat at this stage is, and now we're moving on to the catching.
Sure. And it's important to have those hands upright, Coach. You don't want to...
Yeah, and that's part of our instruction, is basically, you know, anything above the waist, palm facing the ball or facing the beanbag in this situation, because we use the beanbags because it's easier for them to grasp it. And fingertips up, and then anything that's thrown low, we actually get their fingertips down. So what we're doing here, the test is 5 throws above the waist.
Okay.
And that way we can kind of measure how many they catch, and then later here we'll probably see it. He'll get 5 attempts where the beanbag is thrown below his waist.
Okay, I want to make sure you keep your eye on that target, because I can remember when I first tried to catch, I got a baseball right in
and that's why it's so important that we modify the equipment. And as you see now, we've actually got the kids out, and they're actually throwing a beach ball, which is nice and colorful. And notice now they're learning that if the object is bigger, they got to get their fingers, their hands wider apart.
And then we're adding the Velcro glove here, Coach.
Yeah, this is a neat little activity, because what we have a Velcro ball there, we have a Velcro glove, so wherever they move it, now here's a low throw, and notice there she put the mitt right there and was able. So this is, because a lot of kids at this age, 3, 4, 5 years old, they're actually farsighted, So their far vision is better than their up close vision, so actually it kind of blurs. So this is one reason we try to throw the ball, you know, off to the side, not necessarily up around their head. Now here's an activity where we're actually challenging the student because he has more proficient skill. So the teacher is moving the student from left to right and throwing the beanbag up in the air to make it a more challenging activity for him.
And because that's what we talked about at the beginning too, it's about climbing a mountain. Well, this is eventually a kid maybe playing Major League Baseball, tracking down a fly ball and making that game-winning catch for the World Series.
Like we're looking at Xander here right now, who was basically 4 years old when we did this video last summer. And as you can see, they're moving him forwards. There's a nice catch there. And that beanbag is probably being thrown about 10, 15 feet up in the air. But it's challenging him. And now we're actually going to a very complex for kids this age, and that's the throwing pattern. Because we have patterns within. You can see we have the arm motion, and we're using some material here where it's attached to a stick or ribbon, and we got the trunk action, and then we got the leg action. So this is very complex. So this was a nice little activity that we use in terms of help developing the throwing pattern
and generating that force, that power.
Yeah, you're exactly right. So when they load it up, they have to really step and turn their body and their arm to be able to get that ribbon to lay out. So this was a real good activity that, and these were PENT students we were working with, the class for PENT, which is standing program for educating native teachers. And now you see here, now they've moved to a target, and actually they got a place there to split. And as you can see there, not a lot of control, but actually the mechanics of throwing is very good.
Now we're moving on to the hitting portion.
Yeah, this is a striking station, and we've got Armand here, and notice he's a left-handed hitter, so that means our students have got to look for it. Great contact then, nice level swing. Now we got, this looks like Ella, and Ella again, you can see her, she's probably at a elementary stage because her feet are pointed right. Because what happens at the initial stage, Tyler, the kids will actually point their foot because all their relationships with people before it's been kind of chest to chest. So therefore it's more a chopping motion, like chopping wood. So part of our instruction, we have to teach the kids how to stand, how to flex their knee. There's a nice hit. Nice hit then, and she's got her dominant hand on top of the bat. And again, you see, so it's an eye-hand coordination, and this is very complex.
Now we add the paddle to it.
Yeah, just another different activity where the girl's dropping the tennis ball, and then Armand here, he's got the paddle, he's holding it like a bat, and basically there is, you know, it's like a backhand. It's a backhand hit in tennis.
Tennis or badminton or whatever.
If you remember years ago, Chris Everett made that famous because she was probably the first lady tennis player that went to the backhand, you know, for control.
And it's a bigger target for them to swing at by adding the beach ball to it.
Yeah, the beach ball, and the thing about it, they love hitting the beach ball because it's moving, it's a bigger target, but it really helps them start generating some force. Now we're going to probably see it right here with this kid, how he's going to step and swing.
This is a real confident guy that's up here right now.
Yeah, this is Cody, and Cody is really, he's actually back with us again this year, and so the time he leaves the Brandon U daycare program. He's going to have 5 sessions with us, and he's a kid, him and Xander are kids that, as you mentioned a little bit earlier, you'd like to track these children and see where they're going to be 5 years, 10 years from now because of the proficiency and getting this early introduction to developing their motor skills. Yeah,
there's just a couple more examples there.
Yeah, and now
nice good swat
Armand's dad was a cricket player. So he's got some, you know, he has some understanding in terms of striking objects.
And here's just some good instruction here about where to stand and make sure
your hands are right.
You got the pads there on the floor for where you want to be standing and whatnot. And
yeah, he kind of, and it felt like that there, and he's got kind of the plate there where he knows that the ball is going to be coming across that. And now he's coming with a different size ball. And that's one part of the instruction is, you know, we call it constraints, and these things that limit kids. We know at this age they're not going to be able to manipulate a wooden bat or metal bat, so that's a plastic bat. Another constraint would be the speed of the ball or the size of the ball. So we modify these to actually create some success. And we can see Xander here now. You can see steps into it, you know, generate some nice force. And now the next stage for him would be basically, you know, with moving up to be able to realize that now when you hit a ball, now you got to run the bases. And I think we'll probably see some of that video later.
But here's a real confident guy, good swing, and it's almost like he's swinging towards the green.
Yeah, and what we're seeing here now, we're having him, he's actually started changing the speed of how fast he's moving the ball. Now he's gone down to a smaller ball.
Just to challenge him a little bit more here, because he was pretty confident hitting that beach ball, no problem. So here's a bit of a smaller target for him to hit.
You can see there,
no problem.
Made really good contact. Now he's actually got him running the bases to let him realize now you got to drop the bat, and now you got to run the bases. And you got to realize kids at this age, 3, 4, 5 years old, their life revolves around play. And our job is basically to improve their skills, which is going to enhance their self-confidence, and then it's going to really start building their self-esteem, because kids really value doing well when they're playing.
And I'm sure when the kids are doing this, they're on, they're on cloud 9, right?
Yeah, now here's a situation now where we got a Xander. Now we've gone back to a wiffle ball, and we've actually moved the distance back. And I think you're going to see here, he's probably about 20 feet from the pitcher, and you can see there, small ball, very confident, and eventually here we're going to move him back further. And now I think we're going to be able to see, you can see him moving now, and now you can see the pitcher. So we're talking about probably 30, okay, he missed that one, but he still had a good level swing.
Yeah, keeping his eye on the target. And
here's another
nice
one.
level
Boom.
swing, and there you go.
Nice swing down the third baseline. Okay, so Xander has progressed really well in this program, and parents love it, children love it. Every year, the first thing Miss Jackie contacts me and wants to know, are we going to have the program again this year? Because the kids really love it, and the parents know.
So here we go. This is the initial stuff. This is right at the beginning of things type thing.
Yeah, this is part of our pre-testing, and we're actually doing what we call axle movement, and it basically involves twisting, turning, reaching, and that's the real foundation. So when you look at the movement here, that's no different than a first baseman stretching to catch a ball, or catching a ball low, or catching a ball high. And what we got here is we want him to maintain his feet position.
And then this one, the instructors is showing the kid what exactly is going to kind of go on type thing.
Yeah, this is kind of the 45-degree wedge mat, and we have kids here actually working on a forward roll.
And you want to be a C, perfect C, isn't it?
Yeah, you'd like to get a C, right? You'd like to get that head tucked under where your forehead doesn't hit the mat. And we can see here's a child a little bit younger, and you see has a little struggling a little bit to get that C. But after a few practice opportunities, that starts coming. And this is a log roll.
Just adding a little bit to it with the log roll there.
Yeah, and we want them to kind of where they don't unravel. And now what's going to happen? She's going to have to take a bean bag, and she's going to have to walk to a spot and then drop that bean bag into a bucket. So again, working on posture here. And we emphasize that working with the kids, because kids even at this age they can start slouching, and so we really, you can see here kind of this is kind of cute here, because their instructor keeps having to move the bucket, and then she keeps adjusting. But I think after a couple of tries here, she's going to drop it in. Yeah,
the third time wasn't quite the charm here, but I think she'll get another crack at it here. Practice makes perfect, of course, as a wise man once told me. And there we go.
Yep, that was nice. And now this is basically a static balance test.
And why is that X that we see there so important, Coach, on the wall?
Well, basically, kids this age actually, they use their sight to visually monitor their feet. And one of the things of becoming proficiency in either static balance or dynamic balance is being able to look straight out. So we put the X there where she could focus on that. And you can see by doing that, now she's got a better posture, and she's able to maintain it. So we got one student there writing down the characteristics, and meanwhile we have another student there actually clocking how many seconds that she actually balanced. So that way we can evaluate not only the product, how long she balanced for, but also in terms of the form.
And walking the beam here, and I'm sure for these kids, they're like, man, I'm up really high.
Yeah, well, I would think so at this age, because you can see right there that the distance between the beam to the mats is probably as high as it is. Max, the boy there that's walking, and he's real proud of his Winnipeg Jet hockey jersey there, and you see he's right over left and left over right, and although you can still see he's using his eyes some to monitor his feet. So eventually we will have him looking up.
And we talked about the imagination of these kids too. It's like walking, you know, a log over a top of a rolling river kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's what we do sometimes. We actually let the blue mat serve as water, and this is a pre-test, but we would put animals on the floor, etc. And we're going to see some of those in a minute. There's kind of just a hopping on one foot. Now they got to come to a static position, and now actually one of the students came up with this neat little activity where they have to balance on the Bocey ball there, and then we have a magnet at the end of the line, and actually we have fish. So we have different type fish there. We got whales, sharks, and actually we have magnets on them, and he's got to be able to reach down and catch one. And
he's going to grab a goldfish there.
And that's basically, and hey, he's going to take that home. He's going to cook dinner for his mom and dad tonight. Now here's the incline. So again, we have Max going up the beam, and now he's going to come to a static, and now he's got you can see the fish there. And a lot of times when we are actually doing the station work, we'll have music or we'll have sounds of raging waters. Where the kids actually, and I like your analogy, we'll have to try to use that one sometime in the future where maybe there's a storm, the bridge got washed out, but a tree fell across the river, and now they got to walk across the river to catch the bus to go to school.
And this is just a jumping test that we're looking at right now here, Coach.
Yeah, this is jumping from a height, and you can see we got 3 phases in jumping. We have what we call the takeoff, the flight phase, and the landing. So we're real concerned that they learn to land with balance. You can see Auburn here, she's hopping up, and this is going to be a little bit too high for her, so she's going to have to just go on her all fours. And now they're going to jump down, and notice at the end we have a balance, we have a hula hoop that we want them to land in. And then a lot of times,
and this is more jumping, and those ribbons are really important for generating that force, generating that momentum.
Yeah, and you see here Terrell Scott, one of our Bobcat basketball players, is actually instructing there. We want the kids to see what it looks like. So, and notice again we have the hoop on the, so there he goes. He's going to, a lot of kids at this age, they know to bend their knees, but they don't know that they can generate more force by using their arms. And this is part of it, as you said, to get those ribbons to lay out. Okay, and now we're going to see here where you had to land there, and now a big jump there, and you can see the pads there. There goes Marcus. Here is a good angle here to watch Marcus swing his arms.
And he's showing some good momentum there.
He's showing some good momentum because Marcus there, we're talking about a child that was only 3 years old.
Okay, here's a kid going for the gold medal in the 2024 Olympics, and there's Coach Hemmings giving him a
little last minute instruction. This is Xander here, and Xander, you can see here a lot of good speed and then good, really nice flight phase there, nice landing. We're going to get a chance to look at it again, but I think he probably traveled about 10 feet in the air then. And this child was only 4 years old, so it just shows you how these kids can absorb when it comes to, giving them practice opportunities, instruction, and encouragement.
And so nice that we got to see it twice. What feedback have you got, Coach, from the parents?
All the parents love it. Mm-hmm. The parents really love it because again, as I said, when you look at children 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, their life evolves around play. I mean, they walk over to the gym, but when the doors open to the gym doors, they know they run in. They're ready to have fun, and hopefully we're going to get one of the parents in and maybe be able to talk about how good the program, served her son.
What is your ultimate goal when it's all said and done?
Well, I think the key would be to try to get this program out to as many young children in our community that we can, because it is the foundation. And for the kids to be able to transition to the specialized phase, they got to get some proficiency. And just to share with you that most children, when it comes down to stability, locomotor, by age 5, they get to the elementary stage, but unfortunately, they never get to the proficiency stage. And this is what happens when they get 6, 7, 8 years old, it becomes a proficiency barrier. And unfortunately, kids stop. So if we can get them to the proficiency stage much earlier, ideally by age 6, and as you've seen in this motor development lab with people like Cody, Alexander, Ella, some of these kids, that by 4 to 5 years old, we were able to get some proficiency. So they've got the real solid foundation, which is going to allow them as children to be more active, get involved in more recreational activities, sports, and hopefully, for an active lifestyle for the rest of their life, which is going to be ideally to, for them to be healthy and fit adults.
And for anyone watching this video right now, what would be your final message to them as we wrap up our program here?
Well, hey, if you're a caregiver out there and you have small children, you can't do enough with them. Like you said earlier, hey, chocolate pie, strawberry pie, pumpkin pie, but pie being, give them lots of practice opportunities. Give them some basic instruction, because kids understand that fingertips up, because if you don't provide that to them, then they don't know it. They can't figure that out on their own. And then, like I said, lots of encouragement, and then these kids will take off.
Thanks a lot, Coach. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you for joining us.